So there is a lot of people getting confused on this banner. They don't really understand how the PD works. There's like a double PD, like they don't understand what's happening. What is the 120? Is 120 the PD? I'm gonna explain to you today how this banner works and why is it actually pretty good if, big if, the dupes remain irrelevant, because they are actually irrelevant in this game. If you go check, at least so far, right, with what we have, if this doesn't change, obviously, that is the big if, the only if. If that doesn't change, then you will only have little percentage increments on some of their aspects, like some of the part of their kits might be like a skill, might be an ultimate, might be a buff that they have, a debuff, like a type of shred. And then obviously the more you go into max dupes, which is every other game has like insane power, you can get like a little more increases in damage, right? You get like 8% here, you're starting to get like 20% damage here, for example, and 5% critical rate, and then this is like 50% damage on the next finisher. So, you know, you do see a little bit of power at the end of the max dupes. I think overall, every other character, if you check their constellation or whatever you want to call it, it's not that big of a deal. They don't add new mechanics. They don't enable them to do something more compared to the base version of the P0, E0, C0, D0, whatever game you're playing. So this is actually good. Why? The banner, it works in a certain way, and I will explain to you. It's a 0.8% to get it off PT, like before PT, and then there is a 50% chance to win the character or lose the character. Okay, now the PT is 80. Okay, the PT is 80. Now at 80, you're going to do the check. Boom, here's a 6-star. Is it going to be the limited 6-star or not? This is the 50-50. If you win the 50-50, here's Levitain for 80 PT. Here we go, right? If you don't win the 50-50, you're going to lose to somebody else. And then you will see this says 40. At this point, after failing, you have 40 more pulls for you to guarantee the very first copy of your character, the very first drop of your character. It's not a copy, right? So you get your first character after 40 pulls. Once you fail, in case you were failing, once you fail the 50-50, 40 pulls, and you get the character. Okay, and this is confirmed by the fact that these two, if you were to start the game right now without pulling, you will see 120 attempts to guaranteed, 80 attempts to guaranteed a 6-star operator. Could be anybody, right? So they go down at the same time, which also further confirms that you don't need to do 80 failed and then another 80 for a total of 160 like other games, and if not more, right? You need to do 80, and then if you fail, you need to do 40 more only, which is better than the competition, right? Assuming that the dupes are bad, that you don't care about dupes, you're not incentivized to do dupes. So hence why the guaranteed after you do the 120, or maybe you win the character, right? This will disappear. This will disappear. It will not be here anymore. You will keep the 80 PT, but you don't have the 120 guaranteed anymore. This is why a lot of people are not that happy about it. They're kind of like cringing, because this implies that after the first copy of your character, all the dupes are going to be extremely hard to get. You could technically potentially fail every 50-50 in the 10 times in a row, right? And that's pretty bad. But if you don't need the dupes, or if the game doesn't incentivize you to get dupes, then who cares, right? I think that's pretty fine. It's actually unironically better. Now, that said, hopefully that was clear enough. If it's not, comment down below. I'll explain to you again if you, for some reason, are confused. It shouldn't be. It's not even that hard. Once explained correctly, I don't think it's hard. Now, are there changes that can be done? Yes. Where? In the weapon banner. So you might think, okay, so the character is good, but where's the weapon banner? Behind me here, there's an arsenal exchange. You click that, from the banner, and then you are brought to this panel here. At the top, there is the main banner with the main signature weapon, which is the 5th heirloom, chance up. You can see it's here, and you can check their stats and what they do. Now, when we go check the details of the banner, we see that the drop rate is 4%, pretty good. Now, the problem is, or something that can be tuned, is the 5th heirloom has 25% chance to appear. So it's not a 50-50, it's not a 75-25, it's a 25-75, which means that you have a 25% chance to get the weapon and 75 to not get it, to fail to somebody else, something else here, right? So now, there are a couple of issues here that I would like to address. Sure, first of all, how do you pull on this banner? So these coins here called Arsenal ticket can be exchanged with the barrel. Now the bail rate is dog shit. Okay, the bail rate is 3-1. So for the almost, because it's 5,000 for a temple, for the almost a temple amount, I am getting half a temple of a 6-star of on this banner, which is pretty bad. Now, why do I have so many? Did I pull so many times? No, I did not. I pulled like 50 times, 60 maybe, right? So for only 60 pulls on banners, because I did 20 pulls here, 60 pulls, right? I did 20 pulls on Levitain and like 40 pulls on the other banner to get the guaranteed from the beginner banner. So you get a lot of these by pulling. Okay, you get a lot of these. Every time you get a character is 500, that it's a 5-star. If you get a 6-star, it's 1.5k, which is almost one 6-star character is almost more than half of what you need to do a temple on the weapon banner. Now, all the 4-stars, when you pull, you only on the character banner, you only get characters. So you keep getting these like 50, 50, 50, 50. If they're maxed, you get more. 250, 100, 500, 500. You get two 5-stars. That's plus 1,000, right? And you only did a temple. So this, unironically, is still pretty decent because you are getting a lot of Arsenal tickets just by pulling on the character, and so that this byproduct is gonna help you into being able to just buy a weapon. There's not just banners in this panel. You can just buy a weapon. Now they're gonna be 5-stars and 4-stars, maybe gonna be obviously a little worse, but you can get weapons that you can use for your characters. Now, obviously there are 3 banners here, permanent banners, where you can get the weapons for the main 3 6-star characters that you can get from the beginner banner, which are Ember, Angelina, which is now called Gilberta, and Lei Fang, which is Spear Guy. So you can go and hunt for their weapons, but you need to understand how the weapons work, okay? Now, the weapons, when you click on a weapon, is going to show you some stats. Base attack, this is a max weapon, right? Base attack is going to be this value, and then you're going to have some not unlocked yet passives. So you have these passives here that are going to tell you something, and to unlock this, it says 3 out of 9, right? You need to socket in the weapon some gems that you can just grind in game. You cannot buy them with like money, so real money. So you need to socket them certain types of gems, let's say essences, that are giving you as passives that they match the same as these, or maybe they combo together and in conjunction they end up giving you 6 of this, 6 of attack boost, and 6 of impetus rate, right? If you've managed to get that, then these turn on, otherwise they don't, okay? But this is still important because I think in endgame it will be very easy for you, or very manageable for you to unlock these. This is important to know now, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to assess how important the 6-star weapon is, and even though, sure, their specific weapon is going to be obviously tailored around their kit, you still don't necessarily need the signature weapon, at least for now, unless the final bonus is something insane, which sometimes it is, but we are talking about a signature weapon that you can pull multiple times for. Sure, 25 is pretty low, that's why I said that there are some issues here that could be addressed. For example, my example is when we go and check the Leviathan weapon, we go and click and we see that Leviathan uses a sword, and she is though a magical user in the sense that she's using intellect. So intellect is going to be the important main stat that she needs. Now, this weapon obviously is going to gather around her kit. Intellect plus 30, which is basically 30% damage if you manage to turn it on. Basic attack 23, and then there's going to be a generic arts burst. It's not necessarily her, because arts burst is just your skill. It's called arts burst, or maybe the ultimate. Gives the wielder attack plus 9 and critical rate plus 2. For 30 seconds, it stacks 4 times. So it's not that big of a increase, but it's still something you can get. Now, this is the signature weapon. If we go back and check the other weapons, they don't give you intellect, right? Which is something that that's what I was referring to when I said it could be improved. So this is something that could be improved. They could add in the same banner other options that are still okay. They're not necessarily like completely different and unusable. That could be improved, but the rate, and also maybe the rates, like you don't need to be 25, you can be 50, I think it's fine. Now the PT on the banner is not 80, okay? We're not going for 80. We're going for 40 for a 6-star, and then 80 for the first guaranteed, and then it stops. So every 40 pulls, you will get a 6-star, and there is a 25% that every time you might get this signature weapon. Now, how much is it? It's 2.9, so it's basically 3k for one temple, so it's gonna be 12k to get a 6-star. I already have more than enough, and I played for 8 hours with the 6. I did 60 pulls in total. I could do one more, but I have 60 pulls. No, I've done 2 more, but I can do on the banner, on the character banner. But I have already 20k. I can almost guarantee it. I need a little more, but I can almost guarantee it. Now, you would need 24,000 to guarantee the weapon once, which I am already there. I only did 60 pulls, more or less. So even though it can be improved, and it can be improved in the banner drops as well, which should give you some weapon that you can resort to. Oh shit, I fell to this. Whatever, it's still pretty usable, right? Sure, you can fail to other type of weapons, the 5-star here. We don't know all of them, obviously. Maybe there are here some 5-star version that you can use, but it could be nice to have another option that is not as bad. I understand that you can easily get this because I did 60 pulls, guys. If you are in a patch pulling for one character, right? And you don't need copies, you're pulling for one character. Maybe you don't fail the 50-50. You pulled 80 times for the character. Now, those 80 times, assuming you don't get ultra lucky, you will more or less get 24,000, right? And with this 24,000, if you don't get completely unlucky, there's a big chance you are getting the weapon before the guaranteed. And if you don't get it, you will still need 24k. If you get it before, you have to get some leftovers for the next time. But most of the time, you should be able to get the character, one copy of the character, and one copy of the weapon with the byproduct of pulling on the character. And this is what I did. I never clicked the translation here, the exchange, because it's trash rate. So this, at the end of the day, is not that big deal. However, it could be improved, yes. Now, something that I want to also say at the end is that if you go here, you can just buy your weapons, right? So as a placeholder, you don't have to use your 4 stars forever. It's gonna feel bad eventually, right? Because they kind of fall off really hard. At least you can get a 5-star weapon. You can even get the 6-star here. It's a limited time sale. You can even wait and look at this, keep an eye on it when you get a weapon that might be suitable for whoever you're using, right? For now, there is a weapon for Wolfgang. Now, this weapon is gonna be pretty good for him. But look at what they do. Main attribute boost EX. Main attribute plus 21 means that whatever the main attribute of the character is going to be that gets increased. So in this case, you see the yellow one, this is their main attribute. This is intellect for Leviathan, and this is going to be will for Iwena, right? And then all the characters have their own. So when you go to the weapon, if they say, if their passive say general stuff, they can be used. So in the case of Levitain, it's a little harder because she is a sword user that doesn't use agility or strength, so it's a little harder to find. I don't see it here on the 5-star. These 5-star don't give intellect, but for example, this sword does. Grand Finale does. It's a 4-star, but it gives you intellect. All you need to do is find a 6-star or base 6-star or base 5-star that gives you main attribute or general boost, and you're done, right? So I think that's pretty good. The system is not super bad. I think there is a room for improvement. Yes, they could make more weapons to make to form new placeholders and new options if you don't want to go for the weapon. But even if you are going for the weapon, I feel like this should be enough or very close to enough to guarantee the weapon and the character every patch. Now, obviously, we need to be careful on what's the income, right? The income is really important as well. We don't know exactly how the income is going to be on release, obviously, but this is the time for feedback. So if you're playing the game, you should be giving feedback and trying to tell them what to do if you think they should do something different or something better. So I'm going to do that. And if you have any other question, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I think that's it. Goodbye.